Welcome to Guns and Gear Network, everyone. I wanted to bring you this little short video this afternoon about CB radios pertaining to prepping and survival. So I'm not going to give you a big long spiel about the ins and outs of CB radio, because this is kind of crash course CB 101 for a very specific crowd of people. So first thing you're going to need is the CB and an antenna. A few different styles of antennas. You have a hard mount, which means drilling a hole, finding some kind of base to mount it to your vehicle. The other option is a magnetic mount. One of the best top-rated magnetic mount CB radio antennas is by Wilson, and it's one of the ones is the little wheel, which is the one I have here. And once you get your antenna and your CB, one of the things that you need to do to make sure that your radio is working at max performance is to have your CB antenna tuned. And what that means is there's a little set screw there, and what they'll do is they'll set this on they'll hook it to a meter, your radio, and they'll figure out what perfect height this radio antenna needs to be to meet maximum performance with your radio. So it's kind of tuning it all as far as the height, the way you've got it mounted, and all those things. So one of the things you need to do is get it mounted that way, and then get it, as far as you need to get it tuned. So you'll have a magnetic mount if you want to go that option. I like it because it's easy to take on and off, and it doesn't leave any permanent holes or anything in your vehicle, and it's pretty simple to do. So that would be my recommendation to the average prepper, just to get something simple like this. Keep in mind that the antenna is as important or more important than the actual radio when it comes to performance, and that really pertains to almost any radio that you have. Antennas are very important, and the little wheel is one of those that by Wilson that gets good reviews and is pretty well regarded within the CB circles. So the way I have mine mounted, it's just stuck up there with the antenna, with the magnetic portion. Then it comes around and it goes across there. It goes there, and then I feed it on around through this molding under my seat, and it'll go under the front seat, and then it will come out to this section here where I have the CB mounted. Okay, so as far as the CB itself, how I mount it is with Velcro. I buy heavy duty Velcro, and that's how I mount it. A pretty good size piece, probably almost covers the whole back side or the top side of the radio, that big a piece. So it's good mounted, not going anywhere. So I like that method because it makes it easy to take in and out, and it's very clean mount. And it also, but make sure you're buying the industrial strength style, because heat can affect some of that other cheaper stuff and it won't stick real well. So anyway, industrial strength there. Now the radio itself, you can buy all kinds of radios in all kinds of price ranges. I bought mine off of Craigslist, and I paid $40 for the radio and the CB antenna, but he also threw in another hard mount antenna that he had acquired over the years and just threw it in the deal. So $40 for both. So then once I figure out mounting it, I have to figure out how you're going to hook it to power. Now these radios have two wires, basically a positive and a negative, a red and black wire that'll be coming out of the back side of the radio. So what you have to do is figure out, now how do I mount it? How are you going to hook it up to power? You can straight wire it into your electrical system. The method I prefer is cigarette lighter plug-in. You can buy these little plug-ins here that are just raw wire on the end. And what I did, if you look here, I have two connections, and these are the nice connections that you crimp, and then I just put the positive and negative. Then all you have to do to use the radio is plug it in when you want to, or you can leave it unplugged. Or if I want to take this out and put it in another vehicle very quickly, I could do that. So I like it being modular without having to do a lot of undoing bolts or anything like that. Put another piece of Velcro in another car, and then it can literally be taken in and out. So this radio in particular is a Cobra, and there's all kinds of versions and models and everything else. If you're buying used, you need to have a source to be able to check it to make sure it's working. There's things inside the radio that can be burnt out and stuff like that. One of the things I will tell you about CB radios, Especially the older ones are affected by this more so than my understanding of the new ones. But never key your mic, which means never push this talk button when the antenna is not hooked up. Supposedly it can burn out some things in the radio, so you want to make sure that you do not do that when you first get your radio and you're playing with it and you're plugging it in. Make sure an antenna is hooked to it before you hit that button on your mic. So a lot of radios come with mics. Sometimes you'll find them that do not come with mics. If you buy them used, they'll say, you know, radio but no mic. Don't be too scared of that. Depends on the quality of the radio. If you're getting a pretty good deal on it, the mics can be had pretty cheap, and they are pretty standard. I think most all the connections are basically pretty close to the same. Again, I'm not a CB expert, but just double check and make sure. You can always find these microphones separate if you need to, and they sell those separate, whether it be online, CB shops, truck stops, that sort of thing. So this radio is pretty basic. All radios, to my knowledge, basic CB radios are going to be in 40 channels. This one actually, let me cut my car on. So I've got it plugged in. This one on the volume button is what you just turn it and it comes on. So you'll have, this one has what they call normal operation and then emergency. So the which is channel 9. Channel 9 is the universal emergency channel for a CB radio. So this one I can actually be on one channel and flip it down to 9 if I need to monitor it, or need to call for assistance or whatever the case may be. This one also has a CB button, and then you push it down and that actually has a PA button. What that means is, on the back side of this radio, it has a little hole for a plug-in, and you can plug in, say, a weatherproof style speaker that you would utilize for a PA system. So I can actually hook a PA system and style antenna up to this radio, and matter of fact, this one came with a speaker from that guy. Some people mount those inside their cab of their truck or car so they can hear better. It's actually designed to be put outside so you can make announcements or talk on it, or it's just like a police officer would have a PA system on his car. So you have that button. Then your volume button is obviously self-explanatory. Then you have Squelch. Think of Squelch as kind of a sensitivity button, if you will, or knob, where the stronger the squelch you have on, the more traffic, interference, everything you can, it'll come through the radio. So you can set your squelch at different levels. You just have to play with that and figure out what, and each channel may be different as far as the squelch adjustment. Then up here you have the channel knob that changes the channels. Channel 19 is the standard trucker channel. So if you're wanting to hear a lot of traffic or anything like that, channel 19 is the one to be on. And that's one that's probably the most frequently used, especially if you're out on the interstates. So how can CB radios help? Obviously we can think of them for emergencies potentially. Let me give you a couple scenarios. Let's say, for instance, you're out in the middle of the interstate to somewhere that you really don't have a good cell phone signal, and you're broke down with car trouble. You're sitting there and you go, okay, do I need to hump it over to the gas station? Where is the nearest one? My cell phone's not working. I may not have a good signal. Whatever the case may be, I can get on this CB and I can ask questions, or I could ask for assistance from a truck driver that says, hey guys, I'm stranded on the side of the road near exit so-and-so. I don't have a cell phone signal. Can somebody stop by here and let me make a phone call to get a family member or something like that? Most of those truckers, real friendly folks, and because of the nature of their job, they pretty trustworthy folks. Now keep in mind, other people monitor the radio, so you're going to have to think protection. So anybody could hear that and say, oh, there's somebody stranded, I'm going to take advantage of them. So you also get into that. But this can save you. Another example, during the Baltimore riots, if you paid attention to that, there was mobs of people, rioters, looters, that went out and blocked the interstate. Well, let me give you this example. I was out doing some business out of town the other week, and I was coming up the interstate, and I just so happened to decide to turn my CB on. I don't keep it on all the time. I do run it occasionally, especially if I'm running the interstate. So I turned it on, turned the squelch back where it wasn't real sensitive, and so I wasn't hearing a lot of chatter. And all of a sudden, I get to hearing traffic, radio talk about the interstate being closed because of a wreck. So based on what I could hear about what they were talking about, I knew it was 2 or 3 miles up the road from where I was. So I got on the CB and I asked, can I get to Interstate so-and-so before the wreck? And they said, no, you need to get off on exit, whatever the exit was, and go around and take a left. And they told me exactly how to get around that wreck and get on where I needed to go. That quick and simple. Once I got home, got to looking on the news about that wreck, they were literally at a standstill for like 2 or 3 hours. So that saved me 2 or 3 hours of time. If that would have, say, been in a riot and I'd had it on, truckers up ahead of us could have easily said, hey, look, guys, there's looters, rioters, somebody in the road up here blocking it. If you can get off on another exit, do that. That's going to be the safer way around. So it can save you in little things like that. It can also be used, obviously, for if you're in a convoy with 2 or 3 other family members in different cars. If each of you have a CB radio, y'all can communicate with one another and all that, and let each other know, hey, we need to take an exit here, go down this road, or hey, can we stop? I need to check something, whatever the case may be. So there's all kinds of ways that these little radios can help you. I've been using a radio like this since I was a kid, off and on. I grew up, I'm a 80s kid, but obviously I was born in the early 70s, and my grandparents and everybody grew up in the 70s during that time when radios were really popular. Everybody had a CB radio. So I grew up kind of around that atmosphere, if you will. So I knew about the CB radio when I was younger. My first vehicle I ever got, I had a CB radio in it, and it's just kind of followed me off and on. Sometimes I'll have them in cars, sometimes I won't, but normally I try having some type of CB in my car now. But anyway, I just wanted to bring this little short video. If you guys have any experience or I misspoke and you want to do, correct me or something, please post all that information below. It would be very helpful for everybody. But I did want to bring you a little short video, just kind of the ins and outs, ABCs of CBs and what they're about as far as prepping. And I think everybody that's serious about prepping should have a CB radio, at least one that you can at least move around from car to car or whatever the case may be. Again, guys, I appreciate you tuning in. If you have any questions, post those below. If you have any comments, do that also. As always, like, share, and subscribe, and we'll be bringing you another video in the near future. Have a good day, guys.